Secretary Rubio, I now recognize Ranking Member Meeks for 5 minutes of questions.
I'm going to ask you to answer my questions quickly because clearly the chairman wants to protect you. That's why he's cutting me off my opening statement. But Secretary,
You had 5 minutes.
Secretary, you have the honor of serving both the acting National Security Advisor and Secretary of State. In these roles, you've played a central role in advising the President as Commander-in-Chief to launch a war against Iran, and the impacts of this choice have been significant on our allies and partners who immediately have targeted by retaliatory strikes, as well as for Americans here at home. 3 months into this war, gas and food prices are up, inflation is rising, American business owners and farmers are struggling from higher shipping and commodity costs, and yet the President said 2 weeks ago, and I quote, "I don't think about Americans' financial situation." That's a quote that should alarm every American. Americans are also rightfully concerned that while they struggle with affordability due to the war in Iran, the President of the United States is busy day trading on it. He disclosed purchases of stocks in energy and defense companies in the first quarter of this year that were made just as those companies' profits were soaring from the war in Iran. On March 23rd, the same day he reversed his threat to strike Iranian energy infrastructure, and energy stocks rose. He bought stocks then in Phillips 66, Exxon, and Chevron. Secretary, I have a few questions, and again, given the amount of time that I have, I will ask you to give me yes and no answers. Did you warn President Trump before the war in Iran began that this conflict would drive up costs on gas, food, travel, and shipment?
Yeah, I'll warn you right now, I don't do yes or no answers.
Yeah,
So
well,
these
I
are
only have
complex
5
questions.
minutes. I know when
Well,
you
so
were
do
the
I.
senator, you know
I
about
never
this
did yes or
business,
no answers
and I
to
know you're
people.
trying to go out so that you can run out my 5 minutes. That's a simple
I'm not
question.
to run out your 5 minutes. You're running out your 5 minutes.
Did you-
I don't do yes or no questions. You want to answer me a question, I'll answer
I'm
your
answering.
question.
You answer my question. It's my time. Did you?
Did I what?
Yes or no? Did you warn President Trump
The president
before
was
the
fully-
Iran war began that this conflict would drive up costs on gas, food, travel, and shipment?
The president,
yes or no?
The president and the full administration was aware that there would be consequences to action, but the consequences
Let
of
me
Iran
move
having
on.
a nuclear weapon were worse.
Did you warn him? Did you warn him that launching a war in Iran could result in the regime placing a chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz?
All the risk factors were understood, but the most important risk
I
factor
just
was
want to know if
Iran
you did
cannot
your
have a
job.
nuclear
Did you
weapon.
warn him?
Iran
If
cannot
you
have
did
a
warn him,
nuclear
say
weapon.
yes. It's simple.
Everyone was aware of what Iran might
Did you
do in
warn him?
retaliation.
I'm asking you a second. Did you
Everyone
warn him?
was aware.
Don't
of
want to
what
answer that. Let
Iran
me ask
would
you the
do.
next question.
But the worst part
Did
is that
you
they
warn
can't
the
have a
president that launching U.S. strikes against Iran would result in retaliatory attacks on U.S. allies, partners, and Americans living or working in the Middle East?
Everyone
yes
understood
or
what
no?
Iran would do in response.
Did you warn them?
We were prepared for any response that
You
they
warn-
came out with.
Okay.
We knew it.
Just want to make sure.
But they can't have a nuclear
So
weapon.
you're saying you warned them? Did you warn the president that the personal stock purchases and companies profiting from the war that he launched could present a conflict of interest?
I'm not aware of the president's stock purchases. I don't deal in that, and I don't even know what you're saying is true.
Well, we know that because it is made public what his stock purchases were.
You say so. I don't read the president's
So,
financial disclosure, but I don't believe that to be true.
Well, I think then the president should be more transparent. Secretary Rubio, because these are basic questions that I'm asking you, and to be transparent with the American people. This is what this is all about, the transparency. So, for example, when you go and look at some of your statements that you made in regards to Cuba, I only have 58 seconds left, and I'd love to get it, but you talked about Gaisa, it was controlling the military and what's taking place there, and that they had the opportunity to benefit while the Cuban people are suffering. So what we're seeing here now, the one person that's benefited from this war by his purchase of stocks, him and his friends, they have made billions of dollars while the American people are suffering. You've accused, and I agree, with reference to some folks, what they're doing in Cuba and how they're making money while people suffer. That's what's taking place in the United States of America. The Trump administration and his friends are making billions of dollars while the American people suffer. And they continue to suffer.
Breaks my
as
heart, but
gas
ranking
prices
member's time
go
has
up.
expired. Representative McCaul is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me thank you for your service. Secretary, I know you're wearing a lot of hats, a lot of responsibilities. I think you're doing an outstanding job. Let me just say, since 1979, a dark veil of terror descended upon the Middle East, and we've had it ever since. And every president since that time has said that a nuclear Iran is not acceptable. And every Congress has said that. In fact, last Congress, when I was chairman of this committee, I passed a resolution that said that a nuclear Iran was unacceptable and that the U.S. must use any means necessary to prevent them from obtaining a nuclear weapon. The vast majority of Democrats voted for this. Almost all Republicans. It passed the House floor, a resolution stating that that is not acceptable. We've had a lot of talk in these Congresses and prior administrations, a lot of talk, but we haven't had a whole lot of action. Your administration, you, sir, and the president have taken action on this very dire, dangerous situation we find ourselves in with Iran obtaining a nuclear weapon. I also want to applaud you for your efforts in this Western Hemisphere. A free Venezuela, a free people, possibly one day a free Cuba. And people don't realize Iran is in this hemisphere, and Russia is in this hemisphere, China is in this hemisphere. This is all kind of tied together in a coherent foreign policy strategy that I see. So I want to give you the time, sir, to respond to that because, again, all talk and no action. But you, sir, have put this into action.
Thank you. Well, let me just, before I address that, the ranking member made accusations against the president, which I've never heard before, but number one, are completely false. Not once. Just to be clear, not a single time, not even for a millisecond, has the president ever discussed his personal economics in relations to war or any public policy that he's made for that matter. And I've been in every one of his foreign policy meetings for the most part. As to your point, what we need to understand is exactly what you just said. It's not just that we say they can't have a nuclear weapon. Everyone says they can't have a nuclear weapon. The Chinese say they can't have a nuclear weapon. The Russians agree they couldn't have a nuclear weapon. But at a point, you have to do something about it. What Iran was trying to do was build a conventional shield of drones and missiles and a navy and capabilities. At some point, they would say to the world, now we're going to get a nuclear weapon, and you can't do anything about it because we have so many weapons and so many drones and so many naval vessels that the price we will inflict on you for trying to do something about it makes us untouchable, makes us immune. And the president was not going to allow them to build a conventional shield behind which they can develop their nuclear program. Today, the Iranian Navy sits at the bottom of the sea. They do not have a Navy. It no longer exists. They have no Air Force either. Their missile launchers have been significantly degraded. Their defense industrial base has suffered upwards of 80 to 90% of attrition. It will take years for them to rebuild it. Those are facts. That is the reality. That was the purpose of Epic Fury. It achieved its purpose in degrading that conventional shield. And it has brought them to the negotiation table that hopefully will lead to the point where Iran will give up its enrichment ambitions, will turn over the highly enriched uranium, will stop sponsoring terrorism around the world.
You know, and I think the goal should be the fulfillment of the Abraham Accords. We know why October 7th happened, because Israel and Saudi were getting very, very close, and in Iran's perspective, dangerously close to a normalization agreement. And what did Iran do? They lit up their proxies. They lit up their proxies to stop that from happening. I do foresee a free Iran. I do foresee a free Venezuela and a free Cuba. But you have to start somewhere. And I think we're taking the steps so that future generations will thank us for these actions.
Look, and on the point of, we would love to see a change in Iran and that they be governed by people, but that was not the goal of our mission. The goal of our mission was to take away their ability to threaten the region with an overwhelming number of missiles and drones that would basically make them immune to any sort of external pressure, and then they could break out to a nuclear weapon. That was the goal. It achieved that from a military perspective. The reality of it remains that it's not just us. The entire world says they can't have a nuclear weapon, but no one wanted to do anything about it. And I can tell you this, they are not going to have a nuclear weapons program, at least as long as President Trump is in the White House. That's been made clear to everyone in the administration from the very top down. It was the motivation behind these actions, and it's the reason why we engaged the way we did.
Well, I want to thank you again in the last 10 seconds for your service. I would hope we could unify as a nation behind this. I would hope our allies would unify behind us on this, because they've all said it as we have said it in the past, and yet it was all talk and no action.
Representative's time has expired.